This meeting is now being recorded.
Well, hello. Welcome to our EDS Awareness Educational Series webinar. My name is John Furman. Before we introduce our speaker, we'd like to give an overview of our free program for those attending for the first time. So we'll go over who we are, what is our program. We'll spend a second and talk about our newest program, and we're very excited about it. And then we'll introduce our speaker and have a Q&A session. So again, my name is John Furman. I manage the National EDS Awareness and Chronic Pain Partners nonprofit organization based in Cincinnati, Ohio. My daughter, Deanna, who is on the call also, leads the Cleveland, Ohio EDS support group. She was diagnosed with hypermobile EDS in 2008, the same year my wife Carol passed away with breast cancer. I was a caregiver for my wife who struggled with undiagnosed EDS for over 30 years. We introduced our program at the 2012 EDNF conference to help EDSers form independent local support groups and spread EDS awareness in their communities. We have been a sponsor for these conferences for the last 6 years, and we've helped to start over 115 support groups to date. Each group is given free website with a link to the directory and map. We receive feedback that conferences provide valuable information and social opportunities that many cannot afford physically or financially to attend in person. So we decided to bring the speakers to you through the free EDS Awareness Educational Series. We typically meet each month at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This is an early one. It's actually 7:30 in London, England for our speaker. All of the programs are free. The meeting announcements and whenever possible, the webinar recordings will be posted on our website at edsawareness.com for later replay. You can receive email announcements for future sessions by requesting the free guide on our site. This presentation is sponsored by Body Support Store, where you'll find over 250 products selected by EDSers for EDSers. Proceeds from our store and donations to a nonprofit organization help fund our programs. Please visit our store and check out the helpful products that we offer. Just a general disclaimer. This presentation contains general information about EDS. Members of the EDS community voluntarily participate in this program. The information is not advice. If you're having medical problems now, please call 911 or the medical services in your location. Always consult your doctor before making any changes to your treatment.
And we just wanted to make you aware and announce our new EDS CME education program for physicians. Some of you had been introduced to this at the EDS conference just recently where we rolled out the program, and we're getting an overwhelming response from the medical community on this. We were hoping that people would like to make their physicians aware, and the free program is the first online EDS course. Has several courses providing CME credits covering the principles of diagnosis, classification, and treatment of Ehlers-Danlos syndromes and related disorders and associated conditions that any healthcare providers who are interested in learning more about diagnosis and treatment are encouraged to view the presentations. Whether or not they desire the CMEs or if they receive the CMEs in their country or not, they can go ahead and view the videos. As you see, we've listed some of the topics and the physicians that have presented those topics, such as Dr. Nielsen, Dr. Tinkle, and Dr. Chopra. We have more topics coming in the next year, So check back for those, and please encourage your doctors to participate. And you also can view a webinar on our site that discusses the program in more depth if your physician needs more information. So as always, if you would like to view more webinars, please visit the webinar page at edsawareness.com for the full schedule, and feel free to sign up for announcements for future presentations by going to the free guide on our homepage. And moving on to the presentation for tonight, for those attending live, we're going to be having an opportunity for Q&A after the presentation. Please add your questions at any time by clicking on the Q&A icon at the top of your screen. After typing in your question, you can click the orange button to submit. And it's a pleasure to present our speaker for tonight, Jeannie, who will be discussing Pilates to strengthen and control your hypermobile core. And Jeannie is a Pilates and rehabilitation teacher in the UK. She's the author of a book called Pilates Without Tears, and she founded the London-based studio, Create Pilates. She has been teaching since 2008 and has been trained with internationally renowned organization, Polestar Pilates and Body Control Pilates, and she's a certified member of the Pilates Method Alliance. Her areas of expertise are rehabilitation from injury and illness, chronic pain management, and hypermobility syndrome and Ehlers-Danlos. Being hypermobile herself, she has been drawn to the field and now has a large client base with hypermobility and Ehlers-Danlos. And through working on her own body with her clients, she has devised a structure-based Pilates-based program called Strengthen Your Hypermobile Core. And she presented also this year at the EDS Global Conference in Las Vegas. So it's a pleasure to welcome her to our online series, and we're excited to see the information that she has to share with us tonight. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn over the microphone to Jeannie, and welcome. Thank you for joining us, Jeannie.
Hello there. Hi. Thank you to Deanna for that lovely introduction, and to John. And thank you both for hosting me this evening from London. I hope you can all hear me okay. Just leave a message if you can't hear me, and I'll try and sort that out. And before I get stuck in, I just wanted to say thank you to John and Deanna for all the great work they're doing for us. Their support, the webinars that they offer. I mean, one thing that we're going to talk about in today's presentation is the importance of community and support, and how Pilates can help with that. And I think, having spoken to so many people, the sense of support is so important for us, for our mental health, for our well-being. And the fact that we have this resource available is absolutely fantastic. So really, really grateful, and thank you to John and Deanna. Welcome to this evening, and as we've been introduced, we're going to be talking about strengthen your hypermobile core with Pilates, and I'm going to jump right into my first slide. So before I get started, I don't know how many of you, and I'm hoping many of you have already experienced Pilates, and we can chat about that later, but I wanted to just talk about the man himself. So some people don't realize that Pilates actually was a man, Joseph Pilates. And here's a photograph of him here. Now, just to be clear, I'm not recommending anyone go around jumping on anyone's stomachs. This is just Joseph demonstrating how strong your body can become from Pilates, but I'm really not recommending that we start doing this. It's just I thought it was a really cool photograph to show you what he believed. But the man himself, he also wrote a book called Return to Life, and there were two quotes that I really, really love from that book, and I just wanted to share them with you. They mean a lot to me, and maybe they resonate with you as well. So he said that the Pilates method teaches you to be in control of your body and not at its mercy. And for me and for clients that I've worked with, that really, really resonates, because I don't know about you, but so many times I felt that I was not in control of my body, and my body would do whatever it wanted to, and I really couldn't control it. And that was something I really was not happy about. And so here was his method, and he believed that this could actually change that. And then the second quote, change happens through movement and movement heals. And we're going to hear some case studies further on in the presentation about how that change can really, through movement, can really heal. We're going to see how Pilates can actually heal. So let's move on to our second slide and talk about his method. So while Joseph Pilates was still alive, his method was called Contrology. It wasn't called Pilates. It only became called that after his death. And Contrology was his idea of talking about control. He wanted us to be able to be in control of our bodies. Now, he himself was actually quite a sick child, and he wasn't expected to live very long. He had various ailments, including asthma, chronic pain, and he actually healed himself. He studied a lot of different forms of exercise, like yoga, martial arts, Tai Chi, and he kind of put them all together into his own method called Contrology. And he started working on these ideas during World War I. And this photograph here that you can see is of Joseph in the shorts there, teaching a man on a bed with some springs. Because what he started to do is really interesting is during the war he was in an internment camp, and he worked with injured people and attached springs to their beds to get them moving again. So this is where his ideas really started. He played with his ideas in rehabilitating people. And today, if any of you have ever seen a reformer machine or any of the equipment in a Pilates studio, you will see that the equipment still resembles kind of beds because, that's where he got his inspiration from. And Joseph called himself a visionary, 50 years ahead of his time. And he really believes that he was ahead of his time. And I have to agree, he came up with this method totally on his own, just by studying people, by studying movement. And, we're still doing it today. So he really was quite a visionary and a creator. He was a genius, really, in my opinion. I mean, we'll talk about how Pilates has evolved, but, he had such a vision for everyone. And now, of course, it's practiced by over 12 million people worldwide. I think that's probably a little bit higher now. But, it's an extremely popular form of exercise, and it's normally the first recommended piece of exercise by medical professionals. So if you go and see a doctor, chances are they're going to say, have you tried Pilates? People often come to me because their doctors, their surgeons, their physios have told them to try Pilates. So it is sort of medically endorsed by a lot of practitioners. Okay, so moving on, I just tell you a little. We've already had a beautiful introduction by Deanna, but just telling you a little bit about me again. So as Deanna said, I've been teaching since 2008, and I do have my own clinic here in London. And I do work now mainly in pain management, chronic pain, and injuries. But as Deanna said, I now have a very large client base of hypermobility clients and EDS clients, typically classical-like and hypermobile EDS. And I do like this photograph. I'm just going to put my cursor on here. So as you can see here, these hyper-extending elbows. And this photo was taken when I just started teaching Pilates, so quite a while ago now. And as you can see, I still had some way to go to stop my elbows hyperextending. So I look pretty happy in that photo, but as you can see, I've got some work to do on my own body as well. So through my work, I developed this, what I call the integral movement method, or the IMM. And that's really based on Pilates. Pilates is at its heart, but it has a rehab focus. So that's a little bit about me. So let's get on and talk about Pilates. And for those of you who don't know much about it, this is going to be a great introduction. And let's let's see what we say here. So it's a non-impact exercise. So for us as hypermobile people, it's great for joints and controlled movements. Actually, before I get going, I just want to mention to you, just clicking back, so as Deanna said, I am hypermobile myself, and I just wanted to because I know this is a big area. We talk a lot about not being diagnosed and how difficult it is to get a diagnosis, and I just wanted to elaborate that from my point of view. I am hypermobile. I've always known I was hypermobile. I have very bendy feet and fingers, and I knew I could do funny things with my fingers and my feet. And I always had hyperextending elbows and knees, as this photograph shows you. And it's only since I started working in this field with EDS clients, I started to get a bit more understanding. So probably around about 2009, 2010, when I started to get my first EDS clients referred to me, I started to learn a lot more about the symptoms, and I realized that I had so many of these symptoms that have probably gone undiagnosed. So, for example, I developed stretch marks at the age of 12 for no apparent reason. I have very stretchy skin. I had terrible TMJ pain. I was referred to a dental hospital in London, terrible migraine headaches. Pain on eating. I used to wake up in the morning at the age of 15 with my jaw totally locked and unable to move my jaw, and I was so unaware. I used to just try and force it open, which obviously was probably not the best thing to do. And then the chronic pain started. So as I got into my 20s, terrible chronic pain. I started fainting. I collapsed once playing tennis. I was again referred to a heart specialist. Turns out that I have a flappy valve in my heart. And so all these things, I have terrible digestion problems, always have done. So I started to tick all these boxes, and I could go on and on about all these symptoms that I've seen so many different specialists about, and nobody sort of ticked and joined the dots. And I'm sure that a lot of us have very, very similar situations where we have all these seemingly different symptoms, but actually they're tied together and form this EDS. So I think I have undiagnosed EDS based on what I've learned through EDS. So I totally understand where you come from when we feel that we're not understood and we can't get the support that we need. So I really, really relate to my clients, and hopefully I can answer some of your questions as well because of that background. So I just wanted to share that sort of personal story with you as well, that I'm there with you. So let's come back to Pilates, and maybe this is why I was drawn to Pilates, this idea of wanting to control my body, of not being aware of my body. I mean, the things that I used to do, like trying to force my jaw open and just to get myself out of pain, was probably not the best thing to do. So Pilates is a non-impact exercise, as we said earlier, so it's great for our joints. We're not going to load our joints, we're not going to damage our joints by doing Pilates. And the movements are very controlled. So remember, Joseph Pilates called it Contrology. So the movements are typically slow and rhythmic and controlled. Now the great thing about that is that the movements are slow and thoughtful. And for us, with our lack of proprioception, typically it increases our awareness. So we're not going to an aerobics class where we're jumping around and, we're not really aware of what our body's doing. We have to pay very careful attention to the movements. So as you can see here, I'm just going to put my cursor on. This photo here is of me teaching a mat class at my studio, and we're doing a simple bridging pattern. And these movements are going to be very, very slow. We've got a little ball here to help with the proprioception, to help engage the leg muscles, to help with that awareness of what the legs are doing. So Pilates you can add all sorts of accessories to help with that proprioception. Okay, so that's just one example. So Pilates, mind and body connection. That's one of the main things that we talk about, and certainly we'll talk about my method. It comes probably before anything. But because of this mind and body connection, it's very, very good for stress and for pain. And we'll talk a lot more about that as we get further into the presentation. So it can be performed on a mat, so as we just looked at in that mat class there. Small groups, ideally, and again, I'll talk a little bit more about that, but ideally a small group, certainly no more than 10 people. I would not teach more than 10, and ideally I'd like 6 to 8 people. And it can be performed on this machine called a reformer. So this is the reformer here, and here I am teaching a girl on the reformer. As you can see, it looks like a bed. You've got this long bed, and this bit here, where the girl is lying, moves up and down. So that's the reformer carriage. And then her feet are on this bar that doesn't move. And then under here, which you can't see, are the springs. So it gives you resistance and feedback that you wouldn't normally get in everyday activities. So for our proprioception, it's absolutely fantastic for building that. So if you have the opportunity to use studio equipment, I highly, highly recommend it, because it does help increase our journey time to getting into that awareness. So Pilates can be taken as a group, as we see in the top photo, or one-to-one sessions, as you can see me teaching below. The beauty of Pilates, especially for us as EDS and hypermobile people, is it can be modified. So there are a lot of exercises in the Pilates repertoire that are not suitable, and I will talk about this later. So we want a class or a teacher who is able and willing to modify the exercises. And I said it's individual because it really should be personalised. Certainly when you're getting to know someone, getting to know your teacher, we want those sessions to be personalised for us, not mass classes. I don't know about where in the States or around the world, but you can have classes that have like 20, 30 people in them. And to me, that isn't going to do us really any help at all, because how do we know, especially as hypermobile people, how do we know if we're even doing the exercise right? If I'm damaging, doing too much, how do I know without someone checking on me and keeping an eye on me? So individual, really, really important. And the really other important thing about Pilates is there are lots and lots of different schools. There are lots and lots of teachers out there. And the schools tend to have different thought processes. So you'll have some schools who only teach the work of Joseph Pilates. And as I said earlier, those exercises are not always suitable for us. You have some schools like Polestar Pilates, which is more rehab-based, which is fantastic. But we really, really have to choose our school, and we have to talk to them before we embark on our Pilates journey to make sure that they are the right school for us. And again, I'm going to talk about that a little bit later. So it's an excellent supplement for any existing medicational program with the right conditions. So by that I mean with the right teacher, with the right school, with the right modifications. It's not a one-size-fits-all. I'm really, really against doing one-size-fits-all exercises. So again, it's a supplement. It is not a replacement for any treatment from your medical practitioner. And as we said earlier in the introduction, always consult with your medical practitioner before you begin any new kind of exercise method. So Pilates is fantastic, but it's always wise and prudent to get a medical go-ahead before you embark on any kind of exercise program. So that's a little introduction to Pilates for people who didn't know much about it. Here's some things, and again, you might relate to some of these. These are things that I hear from clients, and I've probably said to myself in my pre-Pilates years. Pain is part of life, so we've just come to accept pain as normal. And I've come to live with my pain now. So we get to the point where we think, well, that's how it is, and there's not much I can do about it. I'm going to have to live with the pain. And then I used to be able to do that, but I can't now because of my pain. And that one, that again is really, really sad in a way, because we're kind of allowing the pain to dominate our lives. And again, I'm really passionate about changing that. I don't like taking pain medication. I manage. Manage, again, is a strong word. We don't want to manage. We want to really make the best of what we can. And it's normal. We come to think that pain is normal. I'd love to, but I can't. I'm not sure. That's one, people, and I think people lose their confidence sometimes. I think maybe you've tried to exercise and you've ended up injuring yourself. Maybe you went to the wrong sort of class and you again injured yourself. You're worried about exercise. So I hear a lot of I'm not sure because the confidence has just been knocked. Again, I'm a strong believer in building up that confidence because I firmly believe that there is something for everyone, absolutely everyone. And we'll talk again about this. And the other one, I was too tired to do my exercises, as chronic fatigue, also not sleeping well. It makes us tired. We get probably more tired than most people. And then the exercises kind of fall down our list of to-dos. And again, we'll talk about it, but the more we do, that will really, really help with our tiredness. If we can do a little bit of our Pilates, of our exercises, it does help with tiredness. So those are just some of the things that I hear from my clients, and I'd love to hear any feedback you have about your thoughts on what you have going through your mind during the day. Okay, so we're going to hear from some case studies now. So we've heard what Pilates can do and what it's about, and I'd like to introduce my first client, Sarah, who kindly agreed to be a case study for me. So before I met Sarah, she was a fit, athletic lady, and she used to push her body very hard. So she used to do triathlons, marathons. She really loved sport. She really went for it. She said herself she was bendy as a child. So she used to be able to do funny tricks. So I think we can all relate to that, bending our legs in funny places and our arms twisted behind our backs. Probably not the best thing we should be doing. So funny tricks, although it kind of, especially as children, and if you have any children who are hypermobile, encourage them not to do the funny tricks because we actually do more harm than good. So Sarah used to do all the funny tricks, but what she started experiencing was dislocation, subluxing after her exercise. So she'd push really hard, and then she would be in chronic pain because she'd suffer from these subluxations. Back pain was normal every day, so as we heard earlier, it just became part of life. She says at the bottom there, I thought pain was part of life. And she took daily anti-inflammatory meds and painkillers for her pain. So she was pretty sort of down and depressed when she came to see me. So that's Sarah. And we're now going to meet Emma, who's another lovely client of mine who agreed to be our case study. When I met her, she was a young mum. She had 2 small children, and she's been in chronic muscle pain since the year 2000. So that's probably, I've been working with Emma probably 5 years. So where are we now? That's 12 years that she'd been in pain. And she'd been to see so many different specialists, and as it says at the bottom there, she was misdiagnosed with an autoimmune condition. She'd been all over, lots of different people. Nobody had joined the dots. She was, depressed. She was really, really unhappy. She was injury prone. She would do the slightest thing and she would tear a muscle. She would sublux. I mean, she was totally uncoordinated, total lack of awareness, very unhappy, constant neck, shoulder pain, sciatica, and understandably, she had a very low mood and was stressed because she wanted to be energetic, she wanted to spend time with her children, she wanted to do all the things that mums want to do with their families, and she couldn't because she was in pain. So I've been working with Sarah for about 5 years. So what I'd like to do now is just let's have a look at how they're getting on now. So if we come back to Sarah, and by the way, all these photos that you see here, we just click back. These are all exercises that I would look to be doing with an EDS hypermobile client over time. So not necessarily straight away, we would build up to it. But for example, this exercise here, I'm just turning the cursor on. So this exercise here, you can see that the spine is fully supported, as is the head and neck. And what we're doing here is an exercise that requires us to use our legs to extend the legs, and the carriage will move this way. So you'll almost feel like you're standing up, but you're not standing up, you're lying down. So it really, really teaches us how to learn to stand up correctly. And one of the things that we often experience as EDS is that ability to actually hold ourselves up. That idea that our heads feel so heavy that by the end of the day we've got such neck pain and headaches because the head is just so heavy to hold up. But here, this really effectively teaches us how to lengthen our bodies and stand up, and we learn where our head should belong in space. So the head learns and our proprioception improves, so we can see where we should be putting our head when we're standing up. So that's just one example. And then this example here, again, head and neck and spine and pelvis are fully supported on this bed. And we've got the springs again here. And what I'm teaching this client is how to control her shoulders. So you can see that she's holding on to a bar here, which has these springs attached. So she has a bit of resistance. And what her job is to do is to retract the shoulders with control and learn to lengthen the arms and retract the arms with control. So shoulders are a huge area, as we know, that sublux. And here we're teaching, where do the arms really belong? Where do my shoulders really belong? And how can I control my arms? Because how many times a day do we have to use our arms? Thousands of times a day. How many times a day do I have to pick something up? Do I have to have weight going through my arms? Thousands and thousands of times a day. If I can't do that effectively, then the chances are, yes, I'm going to be in pain. I could suffer from subluxations. But here, a very, very safe way of learning how to embed your arms into your body to make you stronger. So Pilates is all about making us stronger, making us feel connected, empowering us, knowing that we have control over our body. So again, very, very safe exercises to do. And then this one. So this one obviously is a little bit more challenging, and we're going to come back to that in a minute because I just want to share with you where Sarah is today. And these are her words, so I've just sort of taken an interview that she gave me and used her words. I'll just turn the cursor off. So Pilates completely changed my physical life. I've relearned how to move totally and exercising pain-free now. So if we remember where she was on anti-inflammatories, painkillers. She was in pain after every time she exercised, and now she's exercising pain-free, which is just amazing. She no longer lives in constant pain, which is, it just makes me so happy. This is just wonderful. And she sleeps through the night without the pain waking her up, and she hasn't taken painkillers for 3 years. So this was an extremely hypermobile EDS patient who is now living a totally different life. And at the bottom there it says why. These were her whys. Why does she love Pilates? It keeps her fit. It keeps her joints healthy. It increases her endurance and tones the body. And I think that's important. Endurance, we don't necessarily just need endurance to, do our triathlons or endurance sports. Endurance is needed on a daily basis, just to get us through the day. We need strong muscles and good tone, muscle tone, to let us have a posture and a body that can actually endure a whole day. So endurance isn't necessarily for athletes only, it's for us. Okay, so that was Sarah. And just coming back to this photograph, I'll just put the cursor on again. So as you can see, there's a spring here at the bottom, and this carriage is the bit that moves. So I'm now standing on the carriage, and I'm working the legs but I'm trying to stay symmetrical. So you can see, hopefully, right down the middle, I'm pretty balanced left and right. So in order to do that, we need to have enough proprioception to have equal weight through the left and the right side of the body. So this wouldn't be something I would do with someone early days. This would be definitely something that we would be working up towards if it was suitable for that person. So remember, it's not a one-size-fits-all. I don't go around giving the same exercises to everyone. But if it was suitable, this would definitely be achievable by someone with EDS. It's a fantastic exercise for strengthening our deep inner line. Okay, so that's Sarah. So great progress on Sarah. And then if we come back to Emma, so where's Emma now? So Emma, she comes for her weekly Pilates sessions, and she rarely sees the physio now, so she has less physio. She's less injury prone. She has minimal pain. I'm going to turn the cursor off, sorry. Minimal pain, but importantly, she knows why she has the pain. So before, she had little body awareness. She didn't really know why she was in pain. So she had movement patterns, she had habits, she had things that she did. She didn't realize that these things that she did were causing her pain. So she would carry heavy bags. She likes to take photographs, so she'd carry a heavy camera around on one shoulder, and then she'd have incredible pain on her shoulder because she didn't have the awareness or the strength to support herself. Lots, as we said earlier, lots of sciatica, leg pain, back pain. But she has minimal pain now, and she knows why. She knows how to manage it. Breathing efficiently, not only to relax her body, but also to power it. So we're going to talk about the breath a lot, but she has learned how to do these two things, relaxation and also power. Definitely has greater body awareness. She is a totally different person. I wish I had before and after photographs to show you, because her whole posture, her whole demeanour has totally changed over these years. And as she says, I feel totally transformed from how I felt before. So why does Emma still do her Pilates? It brings her control and awareness. Most important, awareness. I'm going to keep going on and on about awareness. She understands how to exercise safely within her own range of control. Again, paramount for us that we learn control, the range of control. And she feels a deep sense of movement and power from within that she never felt before. I mean, that's a really powerful sentence. And if you think, what was Joseph Pilates' original aim was to heal, movement heals. And here's somebody who was totally almost, down and stressed. And now she says she feels a sense of power from within. So she is now somebody who feels in control of her body, which I think is just wonderful. Now, just coming back to this photograph, this is again me on the reformer, so you can get a good look at the reformer here. Now, very challenging exercise. Again, for the right person, it's not, Emma does this exercise now, so you would probably think this wouldn't be possible for her, but she definitely does this with no problems. Requires an awful lot of proprioception. You can see the body's in a straight line. I have to be able to organize my shoulders, to not hyperextend those elbows and wrists. And I've learned where my head is in space. So all that lying on the reformer, getting proprioception, now allows me the ability to get this line down my body. So a lot of obviously support required around here, around the center, so I don't sink in my back. But definitely an exercise for the right person with EDS. Okay, but again, you would build up to this. This would take time to build up to. But a fantastic exercise. Okay, so let's just turn the cursor off. So those are our two case studies. So I wanted to share those with you so that you see some real life people who I've worked with and who have come through the other side. Despite their pain, they're now living in a totally different way. So I hope that really gives you some encouragement as well. Okay, so coming on to how did these two ladies go from where they were to where they are today. So can this program help the EDS patient? So I talked earlier about my IMM, the Integral Movement Method. So it's Pilates based because that was my original training, but because of my experience with hypermobility and EDS, it's evolved into a rehabilitation and pain management focus. So the IMM is about rehab and pain management, but also building that strength and control. Now it's designed to work on the mind first and then the body, and I'll explain why in the next slide. But this is absolutely crucial. It's, as I said, it's not about doing an exercise just for the sake of doing exercise. It's about learning that proprioception, that control, to control the body, but in a very appropriate way. So we will come on to that. And it's built on solid foundations. So it has 6 elements that we're going to go through in detail. Breathing, relaxation, proprioception, joint stability, balance, and posture. So we're going to have one section on each of those, which will really break down the IMM method for you. So let's move on to our first one. So breathing. The first point there, relearn. And it's kind of like, that's crazy. You know, of course I know how to breathe. I'm here, I'm breathing now. Why do I need to relearn how to breathe? That's the reaction I get from my clients. But probably 90% of my clients need to relearn how to breathe. Now, when I was in Vegas presenting at the EDS conference, there was, and I think he's also presented here, the wonderful Dr. Chopra, who deals with chronic pain. And I was very, very encouraged because I had the privilege of watching his presentation, and he was talking about breathing, and he was explaining that because of the lack of proprioception for our bodies, the lungs and the diaphragm, they kind of get mismatched. So they're not working smoothly as they should be. So they should work sort of in symmetry with each other, and they kind of get a conflict. And that conflict of not being aware of when our diaphragm and our lungs are moving and our rib cages are moving is enough to cause pain. So we can get that thoracic pain, that neck pain, just because we're unsure, we've forgotten how to breathe. So I was really encouraged by that because I always start with the breathing. With any new client, sometimes the first lesson will just be lying like I am here in this photograph, learning how to breathe. So if it's safe for you to do at the moment, so if you're at home and you're feeling okay, just place, if you're moving about, don't do this, but if you're seated and you're safe at home, just place your hands either on your belly or on your sort of sternum, your breastbone area, like I've got in that photograph. Okay, so only if it's safe for you to do so, just place your hands there. So the second point there was awareness. So how do I relearn to breathe? I relearn to breathe by starting to be aware of my breath and how my breath is. So just with your hands resting either on your belly or your sternum, I just want you to just notice if you feel the movement of your body as you breathe. So as you inhale and exhale, do you actually feel the belly rising or your chest rising? And again, don't force the breath, don't do anything, don't take deep breaths, don't try and change your breath, but just see if you are actually sensing the breath coming and going. And this is sort of the first stage of actually connecting with our breath. So do we feel our breath entering our body, and do we feel our breath leaving our body without trying to change that breath at all? So actually it's tuning the mind. One of the best ways to reduce stress and pain is to focus on the breath. So if you are in pain, you are sort of suffering with pain, finding some time to just sit and breathe actually calms the nervous system down, and it allows the pain receptors, so the pain is coming from your brain, and the brain is sending these messages down saying, you know, alarm, alarm, send some pain messages. But if you calm your nervous system with your breathing, the pain messages from the brain start to slow down, and therefore the pain messages start to slow down. So it just helps calm everything down. So just continue there, just noticing the breath. And if you're thinking, no, I can't feel anything, then this is a really good place to start, maybe spending a couple of minutes a day just resting your hands on your belly or your chest and noticing whether things are moving. Okay? And then just release your hands and come back to a comfortable position. So the breath and learning to breathe has a physiological impact on our body. It calms the nervous system, it calms those pain receptors, it allows us to enter our relaxation response. So a way to promote the relaxation response in the body is to do breathing practice. Okay, so for me, when I'm teaching Pilates, the breath and the understanding of the power of our breath comes first, and only then do we move on to the movement. Okay, and as Dr. Chopra says, it improves the proprioception of our internal workings, and it can reduce pain. So fantastic. So that's our breathing practice. So once we've mastered the breathing, we move on to the second point, which is relaxation. Now, as it says here, integrated to breath. So if I learn to breathe in that manner of softness, of awareness, I'm already promoting my relaxation response. So that's fantastic. I'm already one step ahead. So I don't know about you, but when I'm in pain, when I was worried about what was going on in my body, I obviously held a lot of tension in my body. And tension alone causes pain. So we kind of get into this vicious circle. I want to relax, but my muscles are so tight and so tense that I don't know how to anymore. My muscles have lost the ability to relax and switch off. So I'm always holding myself. So I call them holding patterns. We start through this work, we start to recognize holding patterns in our body, because sometimes we're totally unaware that we're doing it. We're unaware that we're maybe holding our breath, gripping our abdominal muscles, gripping our back muscles, gripping our neck muscles, our jaws. All of these things are going to contribute to our pain, and it's going to contribute to tension and stress in the body. But if we work on our breath, we're promoting relaxation response. So taking the time to work on the breath is a win-win situation. It builds our sensory awareness. So when I learn that, oh yes, when I get in pain, I have these holding patterns. When I learn that, I start to be more aware of my body. And awareness is a huge thing for EDS, that we lack that sensory awareness. And so through learning relaxation techniques, we start to build our sensory awareness. So we start to have a felt sense of our body. And this exercise here, I'm just doing some gentle rolling exercises from side to side, breathing as I do so to open the lungs. And of course, relaxation is going to promote good sleep hygiene. So one of the things that is often mentioned is that we don't sleep as well because of the pain, and just the nature of EDS is that sleep suffers. So by learning to relax, I'm going to improve my sleep hygiene. So that's the second stage, and it really does go hand in hand with the breath. So proprioception, this is a really big one. So we're told that we tend to have less proprioception than sort of non-EDS hypermobile people. We have little awareness. So proprioception means, am I aware where my body is in space? Am I aware of what my joints are doing in space? And for us, that tends to be no, or less strong than with other people. So if I can improve my proprioception, I'm going to build my awareness. So awareness and proprioception really go together. Now, if I have more awareness of what my body is doing in space, that means I will have more control of my body. And it means that I'll be able to explore movement safely, Because if you think about it, if I'm not aware of my body and what I'm doing, I could easily do something with my arms, my legs. I could overstretch, and that's the worst thing that we could be doing. If I have more awareness and control, I'm going to know when to stop. It's a bit like our case studies. They now know how to exercise in a safe range of movement. It's not about who can do the biggest stretch, who can do the most. It's about reducing the movement initially. We rein the movement in to build that awareness. And once you've got control, we can start to expand and explore the movement and explore the range of movement. So in this photograph here, I've got a band around my foot. So if I don't have access to a reformer, I can use a stretch band to help me. And I've got my foot in the band, and I'm trying to lengthen my leg with control against the resistance of the band. So what I could easily do is push really hard into that band and hyperextend my knees and lock my hip joints. So the objective is to do it really slowly and see if I can get that length through the leg without going to the point of end of range. So with hypermobility, we never want to go to end of range movements. Okay, so this is a fantastic way of building that control. And of course, with the increased proprioception, we're going to be able to reduce our pain, because the pain sometimes comes because we do too much. So even at the time it might feel okay, but we make up the next day and we're in pain because maybe we've done too much, we've stretched too much, we've done too many repetitions of an exercise, instead of understanding the messages our body is telling us when we need to stop. So proprioception is a really, really important factor. So let's move on. Joint stability. So as you can see, this photograph now, if you look at the other ones, I've been pretty much on my back. Again, a bit like the reformer, fully supported, head, shoulders, pelvis, fully supported. Now, further down the program, further into the IMM program, I can start to challenge that. So I'm still supporting myself. I'm just going to turn the cursor on. I've got my lower leg on the mat, but I've only got my arms on the mat. And I'm trying to keep this long line, so this stability. So have I now got enough awareness of my body and control, so no hyperextending elbows, no hyperextending neck or lumbar spine? Have I got enough awareness to support myself and support my own body weight, which is, again, really important, because what happens if I need to get out of bed or I need to get off the floor or out of the bath? How am I going to be able to support myself safely if I can't do this? So the ability to support our own body weight is really, really important. But again, it may take time for someone to get to this place. Everyone's going to travel at a different journey speed. So awareness, really important. We start to challenge your proprioception. We start to challenge your strength by taking away some of the support. Core control. So this is a real sort of contentious issue. Pilates pretty much always goes hand in hand with people talking about core strength, core stability. And it's a bit of a bugbear for me because people always sort of pat their tummies when they talk about their core. And I think that talking of the core as just being the tummy muscles does a real disservice to the rest of the body. For me, I like to think of the core, I'm just going to turn the cursor back on, I like to think of the core as starting here in the arches of my feet, because I spend most of my day standing up or sitting. I need to be able to support myself from here, from the core, from the center of my foot. Now the core runs up the inside of the leg, up the inner thighs, through the pelvic floor, through the abdominals, through the spine, all the way to here, to the roof of my mouth, because that's where my spine ends and that's where I need to hold my head up. So if I've only got strong tummy muscles here, which is great, I'm not saying we don't need strong tummy muscles, we definitely do, because I need to support my lumbar spine. But how are these strong tummy muscles going to help my shoulders from subluxing? Or how are they going to stop my head from feeling like it's way too heavy for my body? And how is it going to stop my ankles subluxing and my feet collapsing and pronation and giving me very painful feet that I can't walk properly, and I hyperextend my knees and I hyperextend my hips? So for me, the core cannot be just about having strong tummy muscles. It has to be a well-organized whole body. So if I can organize my whole body from the ground up, then I've got a strong core. I've got core control. I want the whole package. I don't just want tummy muscles. I want everything working integrated. That's where the word integrated comes from in the IMM, because it's a whole body experience. Now, when I've got this, I've got joint stability. So I've got protection. I'm not going to, hopefully, be hyperextending quite so much, because I understand now how to control my joints. So I'm going to be much happier. I'm going to have more protection from injury and strain. And because I'm not hyperextending, I'm going to start to have some fluid movements. So they're not going to be mechanical. They're going to be very natural and fluid. Now, when they're fluid, again, we're going to be less injury prone, because we don't have that rigidity in our body. The last thing I want is for people to think that they have to brace and hold things in. You know, people are told to suck their tummies in and hold their belly buttons to their spine. That's bracing. And I don't like that idea of bracing. It causes a lot of tension in the abdomen. It's the last thing we need as EDS hypermobile people, to have a build-up of tension in the abdomen. So I prefer to organize the whole body and not go down the route of bracing and tensing the body to do movement. I think it potentially causes more pain down the road. When I get people to stop doing that spine or hollowing, the pain tends to go away. So we really have this no pain, no strain strategy to movement, as opposed to the old no pain, no gain strategy. That is the last thing we want. We want no pain, no strain. So that's our joint stability. So if we move on, balance. So here we go. Again, I'm just going to put the cursor on. A much more challenging position. I'm on one foot, balancing. Okay, so, you know, people with EDS, hypermobility, balance is an issue. But why is it an issue? It's an issue because we don't have the proprioception. But if I've worked hard in these previous months, or however long it's taken me to do this, it doesn't matter how long it takes. It really doesn't. And it doesn't, you know, everyone's going to work at their own pace. And this, again, might not be for everyone. It doesn't matter. As long as we're progressing at a pace that is safe and suitable for our bodies, that's the most important thing. But if this was suitable for somebody, again, it's challenging not only balance, it's challenging the organization of the body. Can you see that we're in a straight line again? Hopefully not hyperextending the knee or subluxing and collapsing the ankles. And can I still find that core? So here's my core from the foot all the way through the middle to the roof of my mouth, a whole body taking part in this exercise. That's how I get my balance. So really important that we do work towards balance. Even if you're thinking there's no way I can do that, there is a way that we can work on balance. So if you're put off by this photograph, please don't be, because there are so many other ways that we can work on balance. So it is essential. It's essential to our everyday life, because walking in itself is a balancing act. When you're walking, you're putting your weight on one foot while you lift the other foot off the ground to walk. Now, if I can't do something like this, how am I going to walk without pain? So I make these exercises functional so that our daily activities are improved and pain-free. If we can get to pain-free, that's fantastic. So we have a whole integrated body here. Stability. So you need a certain degree of stability. Again, we've built up to this. This isn't something we do on day one. By the time you get here, you are going to feel confident and in control of your body. I would never get someone to do this on day one, absolutely not. But it would be something we'd be working towards. And of course, by now we've got strength. So the power to stand on one leg, to organize the body, that requires strength deep within. So it's not having big, bulky muscles, not that kind of strength. It's strength from within. And that's a really powerful thing. I think one of our case studies, Emma said, I feel a power from within that I've never felt before. And I think this is what she's talking about, this ability to control yourself and control your body. It makes you feel strong. So that's our balance. And if we come into posture, posture, obviously we're told that we need a good posture. A lot of pain is related to posture. That's for everyone. You know, with our lifestyles, we sit at computers too much, we're on our phones too much, we sit down too much. Postures suffer. And for EDS, it's even more important, as we've just been looking at. That ability to organize the whole body is so important. But this isn't something that's taught. So it's not like I could say to you, okay, stand up tall, fix your shoulders back, lift your head up, really stand tall. You would maybe do it for a second, and then your body would go, oh my goodness, that's way too hard. I can't do that. I can't sustain that position. It just hurts too much. That's why it's not taught. But the beauty of a posture is that it emerges. So when we've done all the groundwork of these previous photographs, of the previous exercises, your proprioception is building, your strength is building, your awareness is building, so that by the time one day, what tends to happen is it reminds me of a butterfly, because it will suddenly just emerge. You'll suddenly stand, you'll catch yourself in the mirror and you'll go, oh my goodness, I look different. I'm holding myself different. Now that is something that's just been developing over your weeks of participating in Pilates. It's not something that someone's told you how to get a good posture. Your body has learned where it belongs in space. And that's the really powerful thing, because then it's yours. Your body, your nervous system owns it. Nobody can tell you, no one can take it away from you. It's yours. So you've organized your body and your mind to understand what a good posture looks and feels like. And actually, it's what it feels like. It's not even, forget the look. The look will just be there. But what does a good posture feel like? That's the most important thing. So you'll start to have, with the posture, of course, I have healthy alignment. So I have healthy joint alignment. I'm not putting pressure on my joints and my muscles. So therefore, they're going to be less painful. I'm going to have a lengthened spine. I'm going to just hold myself in a much better place. And I start to have this whole body awareness and integration, which, as I say, is a really powerful thing to have. And it's a forever. So if I just turn the cursor on, we'll just talk about this photograph. As you can see here, we've still got that center line. Okay, so the core finishing here, coming all the way down. But as you can see, I've lifted my heels off the floor a little bit here. So I'm balancing. So I've got balance as well now. I've got balance. I'm just on my forefoot. I'm not hyperextending my ankles because I've got enough control now through my foot. And I'm lengthening that core, the core control, all the way up to the roof of the mouth to be able to be there and breathe. Yeah, so we're not bracing. You can see my tummy is not hollowed. It's got a little bit of a round on it. I'm not sucking in my belly. We don't want to be doing that. So we want to be able to breathe in the manner that we've learned to breathe. And the body is happy. So posture is really, really essential, but it comes over time. Okay, so those were our 6 elements of the IMM Pilates program. Okay, so I just want to give you a brief summary of what I believe are the benefits for an EDS patient that I've seen through my own body and through that of my clients. So increased sensory awareness. So we talked a lot about how important that awareness is. Strength and control, so strength and control of the range of movement. Improved muscle tone. So we talked about the muscle tone. I need good muscle tone because if I don't have good muscle tone, I'm just going to hang off my joints and bones. So before I'll tell you a story. Before I started Pilates, I went to see a physio because I had this chronic pain in my shoulder, and I'd left it so long. I hadn't done anything about it because I had 2 young children. I just didn't have the time. But unfortunately, I left it so long that I lost all the sensation down my left arm, so it damaged the nerves as well. And so I went to see a physio, and basically I was standing in his office, and he took one look at me and he said, "You have nothing going on. You're just hanging off your joints." He said, "You have no core stability." I mean, I had never heard of core stability. I had no idea what he was talking about. I certainly had no awareness of my posture or the fact that I was hanging off my joints. I mean, like we said at the beginning, to me, that was just normal. That was how I stood. And the fact that I was in pain, well, that was just one of those things. But could this physio fix me? But of course, he sent me home with a lot of exercises and said, you have to start working on your body. And luckily for me, this physio handed me a Pilates book one day and said, "You really need to think about doing Pilates." Now, thank goodness he did, because he set me on my journey. And it was through Pilates, my first sort of Pilates classes, I started to get the improved muscle tone and awareness. So I don't hang off my joints anymore, but I think it was not a good place to be all those years ago. So decrease in pain and self-management techniques. So we learn how to manage our pain. And when we get in pain, we get more aware of what to do to get out of pain. Because we're in better tone, we're going to be, and we have more control, of course, we're going to be less injury prone, and we're going to decrease those subluxations. So we're going to be more controlled of our joints. That's going to happen less. Improved breathing. So we learned about the breathing. Not only is it essential for our proprioception, it's a fantastic way to promote that relaxation response and get us out of pain. Dynamic posture with stamina. So by dynamic posture, I mean the endurance, the posture that can hold us up all day without pain. So it lasts the whole day, so we don't get tired, we don't get in pain. That's what we're looking for. And because of all of these things, the overall quality of our life is going to improve. We'll just start to feel better. So confidence and mood will start to improve because we'll be in less pain, we'll feel more empowered, we'll feel more confident, and a sense of well-being. I really, really see that through my clients that, they come and they think that, this is it, this is their pain, they can't do these things. And the transformation when even doing, starting small, I highly recommend you start small, but those little steps, they build mountains, and it's fantastic to see the change in people's overall well-being. Clearer thoughts and less brain fog. Because of the mind-body connection and the fact that the classes, the lessons are quite slow and thoughtful, your mind becomes clearer. You actually improve your ability to focus. I don't know about you, but sometimes focus can be an issue. That really, really improves with Pilates. And coming back to what we said at the beginning, this sense of community and support. This is why I think what John and Deanna are doing is just so fabulous, because they're bringing us together to share our thoughts, to support each other. And that really, again, comes back to that sense of well-being. It's been scientifically proven that when you have a community around you, your sense of well-being improves. So going to a Pilates class with people who have similar issues, or having a teacher who really understands your issues and supports you, can really, really contribute to your journey. So this is, just some thoughts. I think I could go on and on with the benefits, but these are just some of the thoughts I had about why Pilates is such a good addition to an EDS patient. Okay, so moving on. Yeah, so big question, how to start. So if you're thinking, well, this sounds, it's like something I would like to try if you haven't tried it already, how do we start? So just taking a look at this photograph, this is Joseph Pilates again. As it says at the bottom there, not all exercises are suitable. So I would never be giving this exercise to a client, an EDS client. And there's, plenty of exercises out there that I would never, ever be doing. So we've got to take some precautions or do some investigations before we embark on our Pilates journey or any exercise that you decide to do. So first of all, please do check with your medical practitioner that they are happy for you to start Pilates or anything else, any other exercise program. So get the all clear first. And then do some research. So really take your time to find the right instructor for you. As we talked about earlier, there are different schools. Check that the qualifications are in a comprehensive training program. I mean, over here, people can do Pilates training online over a weekend. I mean, that's just, they're not going to have the knowledge or the depth of anatomy training or guidance to be able to, I doubt very much they would have the just right level that you need for a teacher. So you want a comprehensive Pilates program with a good education school, such as Polestar. Okay, so do a little bit of research and see if you've got what sort of schools you've got in your area. Have a chat. Don't be afraid to ask questions. If they're a good teacher, they'll chat to you on the phone, or if you pop into the studio before you go for a class. Do they know what hypermobility is? A lot of people think that hypermobility is just about being bendy, and this is, speaking to colleagues of mine, they think it's about being bendy and being stretchy. And we know that it's so much more than that. It's not a good thing necessarily to be bendy and be able to do all these funny movements. And EDS obviously is not just about our joints. It's much, much deeper than that. And we need somebody who really understands that. And are they confident in the rehabilitation and pain management? So again, you don't really want to be joining a big class, which is a one-size-fits-all. Is that person happy to modify the exercises for you? Are they understanding when your body, when your nervous system isn't quite happy with whatever you're doing? So one of the really important things I do is when I'm working with someone, I'm keeping a very, very careful eye on what's going on. Not just the exercise, but I'm looking for those physiological changes in the body. I start to notice if the nervous system is no longer happy with what that person is doing. So if you remember at the beginning of this presentation, we talked about the mind-body connection and how I start with the mind first and then talk to the body. Because if I'm doing an exercise with you and your nervous system starts to say, uh-oh, I'm not sure about this, oh, this could potentially hurt me, or I've not done this before, I'm worried about this. If all of these thoughts start going through your head, they start to have an effect on your physical body. So muscles start to tense up, which then potentially means we could strain a muscle when we're trying to move. My breathing could stop, so I could start bracing. So all these strange things could start going on. So I'm looking for lots of different things like changes of skin tone, breathing patterns, sweating when you shouldn't really be sweating. Things like that tell me that you're not quite happy with what's going on. So you need to be with somebody who's really keeping an eye on you, certainly in the beginning, until they really know your body, until you really get confident in what you're doing. So it's really worth having a good chat with that person and sussing out that they really, really are happy to do that for you. I recommend starting with one-to-one sessions if you can, just until you get to know that teacher and they get to know you. And as we said before, try and avoid large classes. You want someone, if you're happy for someone to put hands on, so actually tactile cueing, so feeling your body, giving you that awareness. If you're happy for that and someone is happy to do hands on, it really, really helps build your proprioceptions, because they can put their hands and say, can you feel this muscle? Can you feel this position? And so you learn in a much more effective way. So hands-on guidance and spotting, so checking you. And most importantly, it should be fun. Have fun, take that step, don't be afraid. It's a fantastic thing to do. Enjoy. And under the right conditions, with the right person, it can be life-changing, as we've seen from our case studies. So, yeah, that's how to start. Now, I think that is my last slide. Yes. So, that's my last slide. So, if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay. And we have a couple of questions that people have started entering into the chat box. And
to
start out with, I don't know if this one was included. Mary wanted you to explain, if you could, why EDS patients have decreased proprioception.
Why they have decreased proprioception?
Yes.
Yes. Well, I think because it comes down to, it's a bit technical, but I'll try and keep it simple. So the proprioceptors, which create the proprioception, are inside the joint capsule. So in our joints, there are little capsules, which is where the proprioceptors live. And because our joints are lax, that's why we have that lack of proprioception, because we're not aware of those proprioceptors inside the joint capsule. And so we just don't feel it. So we can't, the joints are very floppy, and so we do things and we're not aware of what we're doing. So that's why the reducing of the range of movement and really reining movement in helps to build that proprioception, so that you get more aware of what the joint is doing in space. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I think that answers her question. That was good.
Yeah.
Good description. Yeah. And then a follow-up question is, for the type of strength building that you've described in the presentation, this attendee wanted to know, does that help with POTS symptoms, the postural orthostatic tachycardia symptoms at all?
Yes, so I do have a couple of EDS patients who also have POTS, and we obviously have to modify the exercises, and we do have to be careful with that. But yes, it certainly doesn't stop them doing the exercise. I wouldn't like to say categorically that it's going to improve the POTS, but it certainly helps them manage it, and it doesn't stop them doing the exercises as long as we modify them. But again, that whole awareness will help with that. But yeah, that's a tricky one with the POTS. But again, don't let that stop you trying the Pilates. Just be careful.
Okay. Yeah, and I've heard that if you're strengthening the leg muscles, that's going to be supportive for the POTS to try to help the blood pump upward.
Exactly. Exactly.
I guess any exercise would be supportive. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Okay. And then one other person is asking, how many times would you recommend doing Pilates per week alongside the rest of your physio or PT program?
Okay. So starting off small, so the more you do, as with anything, the better and the quicker you're going to progress. But obviously looking after your body as well, so that you're not fatigued. So there's no point doing a load of exercise if you're already fatigued. But little and often. So if you could do a little bit every day, even 5 minutes, at home. So I always give my clients sort of home practice exercises so they can, once they're confident on the movement, they have some home exercise. And they certainly come to class or a session at least once a week. But if you could do twice a week, it would be even better to actually go and see a teacher along with your home exercise program. But those home exercise programs shouldn't be, extensive. Literally a couple of things that you've been working on in the class is typically what I do.
Okay, that helps. All right, and then I think we have a question or two in the Q&A box for the written questions.
Oh, yeah.
Able to pull those up?
Yeah. So just click on those. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, can you learn where your body is supposed to be in space when you have permanent structural changes such as surgery to feet? Can posture ever be optimal if your body is adapting to such changes? Okay. So can you learn where your body is supposed to be in space when you have permanent structural changes such as surgery to the feet? Absolutely. Yeah. I totally believe that you can. The feet are obviously really important for supporting you, but that's not going to stop that building of awareness. So again, please don't let that put you off. I certainly don't think that that's going to hinder that at all for you. And can posture ever be optimal if your body is adapting to such changes? Posture, it may be more of a challenge, but absolutely. Posture is, again, something that's right for your body. So if we can get to a posture where your body feels happy and aligned, then absolutely. I mean, I work a lot with people on their feet. So it's one of the things, again, that I work. One of the first things that I get to work with when we're starting our actual movement practice, and it's foot alignment and strengthening the feet, and so that we don't have those subluxations or those collapsing of the ankles. So definitely, I would certainly encourage the more, actually, if you've had surgery, the more you can do to bring awareness to your feet, the better, because it's just going to feed up feed up the whole body. So definitely encourage that. Why do EDS patients have trouble with proprioception? Yeah, so we just talked about that one with the joint capsule. And yeah, and we had the POTS. We had that as well. So the POTS one, yes.
Okay, and there's one that just came through in the public chat box. Can you read that one as well, or would you like for me to?
Let's have a look. I've just started.
You might have to scroll up a little bit.
Scroll up. Can you please explain how is not bracing but another? Is it that one that you're talking about?
Yes.
How many times? Yes. So could you please re-explain how it is not bracing but another means of activation that the clients would understand? Does stand tall or some other suggestion? Yeah. So I think one thing that I found is the language that we use with our clients is really, really important, especially with EDS. So when I'm working with a client, there are certain words that I would never use, and things like brace, squeeze, pull, suck in, all of that. Any words that have connotations of force, I do not use because of the lack of proprioception. If I use words such as push or pull, chances are the person's going to really go for it and we're going to end up injuring something. So avoid languages such as those that would cause an aggressive response in the body. So things like, standing tall is a good one. Talking about that sense of, again, coming back to the feet. So if somebody's standing up, rather than telling them to sort of brace to stand up tall or suck in their tummy, the sense of the feet connecting with the ground and the heaviness of the feet will help the spine lengthen up anyway. So we're looking for this very natural lengthening. So using any sort of floaty, light, lifted words rather than the other end of the scale really, really help. And bracing, that whole sense of pulling in the tummy and really squeezing the abdominal muscles. It's just not necessary, because what we want is a body that can operate naturally. So you never see children, for example, bracing when they're about to do something. You never see animals bracing, because the body knows how to activate the muscles. So with correct breathing practice, getting start with the breathing, getting the breathing working, the body will actually learn how to activate those muscles without doing the bracing. But that's a big question. But yeah, just avoid all the sort of connotations of pushing and pulling. And yeah, think of lightness and length away from the ground. That will really help. And I've got another question here.
That's really helpful. That's really helpful. I haven't heard anyone discuss terminology like that. That makes a lot of sense, and that's really helpful for me to think about. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, and I think how we talk to ourselves as well. So not just in in a class, but think about the words that we use on ourselves. The power of language. We respond. The brain will respond. If I'm told to pull something, I'm going to pull it. But if I'm told to soften something, it gives me a totally different effect. And we want to have a strong but soft body, not a strong, rigid body. It's the last thing we need. Yeah, just puts more tension. Yeah,
already rigid from our muscles.
Exactly. Absolutely. We're already rigid. We've already got tension. The last thing we need is to be told to put more tension in. So, what I like to do is when I work with people is strip the tension out. We kind of strip it out by the breathing and the relaxation, and then we retrain, layering on all this new terminology and language, so the body learns a new language. It's like you reprogram your body how to move by the way that you talk to it. And it's very, very effective because it goes into the nervous system.
Wow.
So if I had two people and I told one to go around bracing and pulling and, all of that, and the other one to soften and breathe, you'd probably see two different people coming out at the other end. Language is really important. Somebody's asked, can Pilates correct overpronation? Absolutely. It's really, really fantastic for that. We're talking about the feet here, the overpronation of the feet. It's brilliant for that. I do a lot of specific foot exercises. Not that I want to promote my book at all, but there's a chapter in the book which is all about the feet and how to strengthen the feet and how important the feet are. But yes, the more you can do on your feet, the overpronation is going to improve. And it's really important because when we overpronate, of course, it causes our knees to roll in and hyperextend, and it causes us to hyperextend our hips and our lumbar spine, and of course then our whole posture changes just because of what's gone on in our feet. But if I could sort out my feet, I've got a much better chance of getting a lovely organized posture that we were talking about. So start at the feet, absolutely. Yes, and someone who's just someone who started working with someone in London. That's really good. Yes, so the Hypermobility Clinic in London. Yes, that would be lovely to see you. Thank you.
Okay, and unless there's any last minute questions that came in, that may be the end of the questions.
Oh.
Did you see anything last minute? I don't know.
No. I'm just having, So I hope I hope I have answered. I'm just checking there's nobody else that left a question. Doesn't look like it. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And the live attendees are thanking you for talking about the language.
Oh.
That was really helpful to understand.
Oh, good.
How they're going to talk to themselves, even on a daily basis.
Absolutely.
Very
Absolutely. Yes, it will be very valuable. I highly encourage it because it does have an impact on your physiology. So be gentle in how you talk to yourself as well.
Okay. One of the gals was hoping she could email you a question because it was very long.
Oh, yeah.
So it looks like your email is provided there. So
Yeah, my email's there, Jeannie@jeanniedebon.com. That'll come straight through to me. I'm happy to answer any questions. If anyone wants to email me, I'll definitely get back to you.
Okay.
I was going to mention that the book is listed on the announcement page, so you're welcome to click on that link and go out to Amazon and order the book. And I think there's a summary out there too, so that's fabulous.
Yes.
Well, we certainly appreciate your time and sharing this valuable information to our members. Our members are always looking for ways to get pain relief, and this is certainly a method that will really help them. So we certainly appreciate that.
Oh, well, thank you. And thank you so much for everyone for listening. And I've absolutely loved to spend this time with you. So thank you so much for inviting me as well.
Oh, our pleasure. Thank you for everything. And again, the people who attended live are very sending you some messages here to thank you as well.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, guys.
And we wanted to remind everyone that we do have monthly webinars, so check back with us. Also, you can sign up for the announcements to receive those in your email automatically. By going to our homepage at edsawareness.com or chronicpainpartners.com and clicking on the free guide, which will give you just a couple of emails a month, primarily about the webinars. And you can also go to the webinars section on our site and listen to over 70 webinars from EDS experts that we have hosted in the past. So I hope you would do those. Those are very valuable information on different specialties. So check that out. And if you're interested in joining or starting a support group, please feel free to check out our web directory on our homepage, which will give you listings of existing groups. And you can email us if you're interested in surveying interest in starting a group in your area at info@edsawareness.com, and we'll be happy to help you with coaching to start a group and giving you free web pages for that. So everyone, thank you for joining us, and I'm going to turn it over to John to conclude the meeting.
Well, yes, this has been another very informative session. We're learning about various methods of pain management and pain treatment and pain relief, which is something that's very essential for our EDS members. I encourage you to go out to our store, a body support store, and look over some of the products, the comfort products that we have that helps us fund this program. So with that, I'd like to again thank Jeannie for your presentation, and I think we're going to call it an evening or an afternoon. Take care. Join us again. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone. Thank
Bye-bye.
you, Jeannie. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye. Bye.